Good evening, everyone. My name's David, and I'm running a game of cute boys holding hands this evening, which is a hack of PH Lee's Hot Guys Making Out, taking the base game from an affair between a nobleman and his young ward in the Spanish Civil War to a budding romance between two schoolboys in a South Yorkshire mining town during the miners' strike of the early 80s. This game is being run this evening as part of the Gauntlet Hangouts. The Gauntlet's an online role-playing game community focusing on indie games from sort of OSR through to story games and all sorts of stuff, really. We've got a website at gauntlet-rpg.com. I'll put a link to that below. But you can find out about all the stuff that we do as part of the community there, which includes a number of podcasts, a monthly RPG zine called Codex. We've got some forums now as well, relatively new, as well as the Hangouts calendar, which is basically where we arrange games like the one we're playing this evening. So that is that's that. I will just ask everyone briefly to introduce themselves. So as I said, my name's David. I'm based in the UK, and I use he/him pronouns. We don't have a handy character keeper for order today, so I will just ask Pearl. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Pearl. I use she/her pronouns. And yay for being here.
And I'm Stephen. I use he/him pronouns, and I am also glad to be here.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, both. So I know, actually, I didn't ask, Stephen, have you played Hot Guys Making Out before?
I have not.
Okay, cool. And I know Pearl hasn't, we were talking about it just now, but yes, so I will kind of teach the rules as we go along. It's a relatively simple game, mechanically speaking, though, as I was sort of mentioning before we started recording, it is it's a slightly odd one from other role-playing games. It's told in a very sort of abstract isn't the word, but there's a very specific way and some very specific constraints over how we tell the story together, which we'll get into in a minute. So before we begin, we run with a number of safety tools as part of running games within the Gauntlet. This is to ensure that we can kind of explore games that sometimes have some fairly tough themes in them, I suppose. And this game is not necessarily an exception to that. We're kind of exploring a tumultuous relationship between two boys. We can touch on some areas of sort of personal drama. So one of the fundamental things we do is we have the Gauntlet inclusivity policy that all of our games sort of are based on. This is there's a few points to it that, again, it's on the website below, but broadly speaking, what the policy says is that we're kind of going to work together to tell. We're going to treat each other as friends. We're all here to have fun and play games. We will treat each other with kindness and with generosity. We'll, both act in good faith and expect others to act in good faith as well. And generally just to sort of, be nice to each other. It's all fairly simple stuff, but just sadly doesn't always go without saying. We've also had a discussion just before we start recording about lines and veils. Lines are essentially things that we're not going to touch on at all in the game. Veils are things where we might kind of allude to, but we'll fade to black or just gloss over something, and if it's sort of one of our veils. as I said, we've had that discussion offline. We'll also be using the script change tool by Brebo Sheldon. This is a tool for kind of moderating the content of the game, or for making sure we're approaching it in a safe fashion. So there's a few commands that are all sort of essentially based off of kind of video remote control buttons. So probably the most important, most useful one is pause. If someone calls pause, we'll just take a moment. You might want to call pause so we can discuss about something that's going to happen. You might want to say, okay, I want to pause this briefly. I think the scene is going this way and I'd rather it didn't. Could we not go there? Anything else sort of like that. That's what pause can be used for. It could also be used if just the scene's getting kind of intense and you just need a breather for a minute, or if something comes up and you actually just need to take a break away from the table for a bit. That's also fine. All of those are valid things to use pause for. Rewind is and again you might say you might call pause and then rewind if you want, but yeah, rewind is essentially when something has happened that you're not that happy with, and that might be either because it's sort of going to an area you're not comfortable playing with, or just you don't think it's tonally appropriate, or just doesn't feel right. You can just say rewind, can we just go back to before this happened and go a different way, do something differently. That's fine. You can use rewind on yourself if you want to. So if you kind of say, oh, actually I didn't like what I just did, I'm just going to step back and do it slightly differently. That's also perfectly fine. There is I meant to link the PDF into the folder. I'll dig that up after our first break, I think. But yeah, so pause, rewind, fast forward. This kind of again ties into our veils. If there's something coming up that you're like, well, you just don't want to dwell on it and you'd rather move past it, then you can use fast forward to do that and just say, can we just fast forward past this, or can we just move to the end of the scene? There are some kind of it's a couple of these techniques actually work slightly differently because of the way Hot Guys Making Out works. We actually don't tend to run long like continual scenes. We rather have small snippets of description moving around. So I think some of these are probably less important. Well, not less important, but less relevant in this game. But the next one is slow motion one, where we basically we're going to just step through a scene like slowly to make sure that we're dealing with it appropriately, checking with each other as we go. As I say, given how this game works, that one's probably going to be less useful for us this evening.
That's the same as frame by frame.
Frame by frame, that's the word I was looking for. Yep. The instant replay is one where we just can use it at the end of a scene to just either just say, oh, I really liked what happened there, that was cool, do more of that, or if you want to clarify what's happened in a scene and just make sure we're all on the same page. And finally resume, which is just basically the way of saying yeah, we're going to go back into normal play again after we've used one of the other devices. Finally, we will also be using the X card because it's nice and simple. The X card can basically just be used to bring the game to a stop for a moment. Again, if there's content you want to avoid or stop, then that's can do that. You can invoke the X card by holding your hands up in a sort of X shape, by typing X in the chat, or by just saying I'd like to X card that. And again, feel free to do that again for if something's uncomfortable or just tonally off or whatever, and you're not happy with it, then do so. I will actually just mention probably again for this evening, verbally saying next card is probably the better way of doing it, just because I'm probably going to be flicking between tabs a little bit, so I might not have my eye on the screen in the chat the whole time. Finally, no, that should be it. So I was Yeah, I think that is all our admin, as it were. So, oh yeah, that's it. The other thing is obviously we're using the open door policy as again all Gauntlet games do this, and basically all that is to say is again, if at any point you need to step away, whether that be like to take a couple of minutes break or whatever, or you actually just want to leave the game for the evening, you are always free to do so. You will not be judged for doing so. You can give me you can like send me an explanation or whatever if you want to, but don't feel obliged to if you need to leave for whatever reason, whether that be like a personal emergency or just not happy with the game or you're not feeling up to it. All of those are perfectly fine reasons, but that's there. So I think that is all of that. So we will get on to the game itself. So the way this works, well, both in Hot Guys Making Out and in my hack of it, is there are a pool of of 4 characters. We'll only be playing 3 of them this evening. So what I'm going to do, if people have access to the the rules document I sent out, what I'll ask people to do, well, I'll start with Simon, is we'll just read through the description of one of the characters each. We'll then choose which one we want to play, and we'll get started, essentially. So as I say, this is this game is designed to tell a story of a budding romance between 2 boys at a school in South Yorkshire in the 1980s. So our first character is Simon King. So Simon is an introspective, sensitive boy with a passion for writing. While a decent student, he has a tendency to daydream in class. Simon has been struggling to come to terms with his sexuality as he is increasingly aware of his attraction to other boys, in particular the imposing Jack Winthrop. He has low self-confidence and is a frequent target for bullying by his classmates who have picked up on this. Play Simon if you like to be expressive, sweet, and vulnerable. Pearl, can I ask you to read Jack Winthrop, please?
Sure. Just scrolls. Here we are. Jack is intelligent, athletic, and could achieve great things if he applied himself. He's from a mining family, and even before the strike, his home life was hard. Since the strike gets worse, his father increasingly drunk and violent. He's cultivated a hard exterior and has few close friends at school. Despite being academically gifted, he's frequently in trouble at or absent from school. He tends to act first and think later and has difficulty expressing his emotions. Play Simon if you like to be brooding, cool, and troubled.
Yeah, and Stephen, if you could read Miss Rain, please.
Miss Rain, an English teacher at school. She has a keen interest in Simon and Jack's welfare. A younger teacher, she is driven by a desire to educate and improve the lives of her charges and is genuinely inspirational. She has a bit of a reputation among the teachers and parents as a meddler. Play Miss Rain if you like to be compassionate and supportive.
Excellent. So the final character who we won't be playing with this evening is Jo Khan, and I will just read her description out because she can feature as an NPC. If I say NPC as a side character if needed. Jo, or Jora Khan, is the only Pakistani girl in Simon and Jack's year, and is close friends with Simon. She is resilient and good-humoured. She chafes against some of her parents' more traditional beliefs, but does not hold back in the face of adversity, and is always willing to stick up for her friends. Play Jo if you like to be tough but affectionate. But as I say, we only play with Jo in a 4-person game.
Could whoever's playing Miss Rain, when she has her moments of describing, where did I wrote it down somewhere, like describing what she or other characters are thinking and doing, would she maybe refer to Joe, or is Joe, we're just like not going to have her as a central character even in reference?
Oh no, she could certainly be featured in scenes like that. So as a I kind of mentioned off camera, but so essentially the way that this works is that every character, when we play a card, they have a number of actions available to them depending on what card they have they play. So, for instance, to take Simon as an example, when he plays most cards, there are a couple of exceptions to this. He can express his emotions or thoughts through dialogue, in a monologue, writing, or a brief dream sequence. He can also take action without success or face repercussions for making a stand. So those are the things that happens when he plays a normal card. And in contrast with that, when he plays one of the special cards, which is a heart, then he can take successful action or stand up to someone and make them back down, in addition to the things he can normally do. Miss Rain, on a normal action, you can either describe Miss Rain's thoughts, feelings, or actions, or those of any secondary character that's in the scene. So the person who's playing Miss Rain will also be playing some of the kind of other side characters that we might encounter in the game. So, with that said, does anyone have a preference for which character they'd like to play?
With a bit of trepidation, because I hope I could do it justice, I think I would like to play Jack. Because Miss Rain seems a bit similar to just who I am in real life, which is less interesting. And I don't know that I'm ready to be possibly bullied a bunch and unsuccessful at everything the first thing in the day. And I also think it's an interesting challenge to be sort of a like tough male figure, which is just not like, I would enjoy the challenge of finding that perspective and being able to embody it. But if somebody else really wants it, I'm happy to cede it.
No, that's fine. I'll take Simon.
Sure thing, yeah, and I will play Miss Rain.
Yeah, I'm hoping we'll get to do a second game and we can switch it up. But
yeah, exactly. We'll see how this one goes. So I will start. So, like I said, the way we play this is we will start with a hand of 5 cards. We will then take it in turns to play a card onto the table. When you play a card, depending on which card you play, determines which actions you may take, as we sort of just described briefly. Each time we do this, as I said, the actions and descriptions and stuff we give, they should just be kind of fairly short, self-contained things like you might see in a panel of a comic or a couple of sentences in a book. The exception to that is when Simon or Jack play a moment of passion, or Miss Rain plays a moment of inspiration, when we get to have a more fleshed out and developed scene between them, or at least a more fleshed out interaction between them. So in general, each scene will be at a specified location when we frame the scene, and we will decide who is actually there, but you can still act whilst outside of a scene. Obviously, as Miss Rain, I'll also be controlling some secondary characters as well as Miss Rain herself. So the way the kind of the mechanic of this works is that the card that you play has to be equal to or higher than the previously played card. All face cards, so that's the Jack, King, Queen, and Ace and Joker, because we do have Jokers in this deck. All of those count as being worth 11. So essentially, any face card can be played on any other face card. But once a face card is down, you can't play any numbered cards onto it. When you can always choose to pass as well. If you pass, you have to discard a card to the discard pile, and then you get to draw a new card. Obviously, if you can't play a card, you have to discard, but you can also discard. You can also pass and discard, even if you could play. You're not forced to play. A scene will end when everyone passes consecutively. When you pass, as well as obviously discarding and drawing a card, you also can describe a small environmental detail or leave a moment's silence to kind of build tension in the scene. So yeah, that's how that works. The other point is Simon always takes the first action in a scene. And currently, the way I've got it set up is it will go Simon, then to Miss Rain, then to Jack. We might see about mixing that up a bit if it feels like we're getting a bit trapped in a rut. But I think that should be we'll do that to begin with. And that's the other thing is when it comes to framing a scene, we will just kind of have a quick discussion between ourselves as to what scene we would like to see. Where we want it to be set, who we want to be there, that sort of thing. The only kind of what's the word I'm looking for? The only sort of qualifier to that is that Jack always gets to decide what the scene is going to be if there's kind of a couple of different ideas. Kind of Jack gets the casting vote on that, as it were. Cool. I think that's probably enough for us to get started with. So we've all got our cards, and Simon, it's up for you to make. Sorry. First, we will decide what. The other thing I forgot we need to do is we need to decide on a threat. So the threat is something that is taking place around the relationship that is going to cause problems for Simon and Jack. So whenever an ace is played, that sort of threat makes itself known, and depending on how many aces are out on the table, each time an ace is played, it basically stays on the table. We don't discard it, and each time, once there are a number of aces out, that determines what things the threat can do. And once that has happened, then that threat can be kind of can manifest again, particularly through Miss Rain, as playing secondary characters and stuff, can kind of manifest what that threat can do against it.
And it doesn't have to be only when the ace is played that it's referred to, right? Once they're on the table.
That's right. Once they're on the table, and we can, exactly. Once it's there, it's kind of starting. Once the ace is out, that kind of gives us that thing to do. There's a couple of things that can kind of de-escalate the threat. So essentially, the way the game ends is when we feel the threat has been resolved. There's no mechanical meaning to that. It's just when we think, okay, this threat is either no longer actually apparent, or it's I think everyone can deal with it. Then we can end the game then. Cool. So we have. We have to decide first what our threat is going to be in this game, and then we will start with our first scene. The one I'm suggesting as our first one, as in that I have suggested in the rules to use as the first one, is that Simon is being bullied that's the sort of thing we're looking at when we're talking about threats. But some of the other ones, the examples I've got in here are the police are cracking down harder on the striking miners and their families. Simon and Jack have to get through their O-level exams, so they're kind of the exams take at sort of 16. Jack's father's drinking is getting worse. Head teacher is looking to expel Jack, or Simon's parents are going to move for a new job. Does anyone have a preference for any of those, or do we want to default to the sort of Simon is being bullied one for our first game?
I think Simon is being bullied would be fine. I also think either Simon's parents are going to move or Jack's father is getting, like, the ones that are sort of centralized on Simon and Jack seem more easy to play as a first game than like the police cracking down harder or
That's
but I would be willing to do either Simon being bullied or Jack's father getting worse, if we want to centralize on one of those. I don't
know. Stephen, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, either of those is fine with me.
If there's another one that you particularly like.
No. I'm just. I don't have a particular preference, which makes it harder.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's.
Simon being bullied is that I'm gonna want to stand up for him just as a nice person, and my character should probably be a little bit hesitant to do so. I'm typically super anti-bullying, but that's what acting is about, right?
Cool.
I did have one other unrelated question.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Before we start, so Miss Rain, when she does her moment of inspiration, she gets to ask one of us about things and then give advice, and then that card becomes a special card for one of us and stays somewhere on the board.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to assume that you built the board with that functionality in, but if you didn't, is there a good way that we should?
I could just literally, I'll put the card next to next to sort of the name of whoever I'm handing it to, essentially.
I was assuming it works that way, but
yeah.
Better to find out now than mid gameplay.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah. And can we take a short break before we start?
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking, because we're getting to the hour now, so cool. So in fact, we'll take our break now, and then we'll come back, decide our first scene, and get going. Thank you, everyone. See you in about 5 minutes, I guess.
5 minutes.
Cool. Right. So, I will, much like in the original game, I will start by reading out a brief bit of prose for just to kind of establish our initial setup.
Have we decided on the threat definitively?
Oh, so yes, I thought we probably go for the Simon is being bullied. So
Okay.
I can't remember if I'd. And then once I've done this, we'll then decide on our first scene. So dust motes glinted in the afternoon sunlight, streaming between the blinds as listless heat blanketed the classroom. Simon gazed at the patterns of light and shadow on the parquet floor, the ticking of the clock almost drowning out Miss Rain's voice as she discussed Orwell's political illusions. The peaceful moment was shattered as the door slammed open a bit too hard, and everyone's eyes snapped to the door. Jack Winthrop stalked in, his uniform dishevelled but still looking as handsome as ever, rakish even. For just a moment, Simon's eyes met his before he adopted his customary scowl and made for his seat at the back. Simon blushed slightly and lost his grip on the pencil he was idly twirling between his fingers. It skittered across the floor to come to a stop against Jo's outstretched foot. She deftly picked it up and handed it back to Simon, with a customary eye roll but a sympathetic smile. Miss Rain walked to Jack's desk. "Mr. Winthrop, if you are going to be late, you can at least try to make a more discreet entrance." Her words were hard and precise, but there was a concerned warmth in her eyes. "And I suppose it's too much to expect you've completed the homework. We'll speak after class." So, does anyone have any requests or suggestions for our first scene?
So it's not taking place sort of in this class.
It can do. We can sort of start off here if we want to. That's kind of the it's sort of designed to be a starting point if that's where we want to go. But if we want to do something differently, we can.
I'm open to other ideas and also happy with this one.
I mean, we can just continue with the classroom scene that we've sort of already set up.
Yep, perfect. Yep, no, that's cool with me as well. So yeah. Simon, you get to take the first action.
All right. Well, I'll play my 8 of diamonds, and I'll just. Yeah. I think Joe sort of whispers, "He is cute, isn't he?" And Simon blushes.
Nice. Yeah, and I'm going to play my 8 of hearts on that 8 of diamonds. Miss Rain pauses a moment beside, still stood beside Jack's desk. she sort of just looks down and says, "So, I trust you will at least pay attention for the rest of the lesson now that you are here."
Okay. Well, I don't have many options, so that didn't work. I'm not entirely sure how to actually play the card. Apparently.
Yeah, so you should be able to just kind of drag it from the.
Oh, there we go.
Cool.
It's just not staying. Maybe I need to drag it farther. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Please be dragged onto the pile and stay. Sorry, everyone taking this seriously, but if anybody can see what you guys see, no, that's going to be too bright.
Okay.
I'm getting the Joker on top of the 8s, and then it just flies back into my hand.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I must admit, I've not used it on tablet before, so I don't know if there's.
Okay, I can try switching to the.
No, I mean it's
my laptop. Let me do that because this is silly.
No worries.
Just have to open the tab.
Yeah, no worries. That's fine.
Could you relink me to the dice?
Yes, certainly. If I can find it, because it's hidden somewhere. I never expect it to be. There we go.
I really want it to work on my tablet, but it's not. So,
yeah, it would be convenient.
I was all excited about my 2-piece setup that was going to make things so much easier, but that's okay. So yeah, if there we go. There's the link. Okay. Let me try that again. Email, sign in. I apologize for the delay.
So it's not a problem.
No, I do not want to play through the tutorial. I just want... Oh, I can see my face on the laptop version. I don't actually want that, though. I just want to play the game, please. There we are. All right. Let's try this again. Oh, it worked, I think. Sort of.
Yes, I see it.
Okay. Oh.
Perfect.
I've got you guys weirdly also sound in the dice roll thing.
You might need to disable that in the under the cog icon in the top. There's you can choose to not receive either broadcast or receive down towards the bottom of the options there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was not on the tablet version. All right. Broadcast to others, nothing. Receive from others, nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You might just need to click on reconnect to chat as well. It won't actually do anything. It just sort of refreshes that bit. I had to do that earlier as well because I was getting a bit of feedback from people.
Okay.
But yes.
There we go. Does that seem like it's worked?
Yeah, I'm definitely not getting any feedback. So that's
great. Okay. So sorry about that. That's taken care of now. I've played a Joker, which is just for me an 11, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just a normal action for you. Which for Jack allows you to act decisively with success, stand up to someone and make them back down, or flout authority.
And the last thing that was done was... Sorry, I got lost in my...
No, that's okay. That's fine. Yeah, technical issues always.
Remind me.
Yeah. So no, Miss Rain had basically just come up to. Had remained at Jack's desk, and said words to the effect of, now that you are here, I trust that you will be paying attention for this class.
All right. Act decisively with success. Stand up to someone and make them back down or flout authority. Act decisively. Such a simple situation. This is harder than I expected, but I'll get it. I think I'm just gonna look up at Miss Rain and give her a look that says, "Not today, all right?" And then look back down at my desk without answering her question.
Cool.
And I will discard a card and draw one. And yeah, the sun comes out from behind a cloud, and a beam of light illuminates Jack's face.
I'll play the king there onto the stack, and Miss Rain just kind of taps Jack's desk a couple of times, and then sort of turns around without saying anything more to him. She heads back up to the board, and begins discussing about the horrors that dwell within room 101.
Okay. So the only thing I have left that I can play is an ace, which means I'm going to advance the threat rather early here in the game. I think in this case that Jack notices that, or I notice that Simon's been looking at me out of the corner of his eye, and I also notice around the room some whispers among the other boys and a sneer here and there, and I can tell that people are noticing that some attention is being paid and that it's not being well received, and I'm torn inwardly because I'd kind of like to look back, but mostly I'm pissed off because I don't want anybody to be thinking things about me.
Cool.
Does that work as foreshadowing?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Okay, and the ace goes in the threat pile, not the play pile,
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's right. So, yeah. Ah, cool. Oops, sorry. No, I think I had it clicked at the same time. Yeah, there we go.
And I will discard again. So, yeah. And I think Miss Rain is writing on the chalkboard, and the chalk snaps. Sudden loud sound.
Nice. Okay, so I'm going to play the Queen of Hearts. So this is a moment of inspiration for Miss Rain. So this allows for me to act without restriction, to have Miss Rain ask Jack or Simon about school, their life, or their relationship, and give them some advice about the situation. This can sort of be framed either as like a cutaway scene or a flashback or something similar if Miss Rain's not actually present in the main scene. So I have placed that queen in front of Jack, and for the basically at any point on Jack's turn, they can use that queen as if it were in their hand, and it counts as being in this case it is a heart anyway, but even if it weren't, it could still be played as a heart if you wished. So I think this is kind of going to be actually almost more of a flash forward, as I think it is the after this class has got out. Or no, actually, I think it will be a flashback to a previous situation where it's been a similar sort of thing has happened, and Miss Rain is she's actually sat sort of like on or leaning. She's leaning back against the desk in front of Jack's. The classroom is otherwise empty. So as I say, we can actually have like a bit more of an interaction now, because this is a moment of inspiration. So I think Miss Wren is just going to quite simply say, "What's the matter, Jack? I've noticed you've been late to class nearly every time this month."
She's got a lot going on at home. Life is difficult sometimes. I'm doing my best, all right?
Your father's striking, isn't he?
Yeah, what of it?
No, it's fine. I understand. Must be a tough time for you.
He's doing his best too. We're all just trying to get by. If he needs to take the stress out at night, I understand that. Rough times.
It's yes, it's hard. No, I'm not going to punish you for this. I know it can't be helped, but I know you're a tough kid, Jack, and I know you'll get through this. But don't let yourself become too hardened, okay? Make sure you can still connect with people. It will be hard. It'll be a hard couple of years, I have no doubt, but I think you've got real promise.
I'm just trying to, be a man, really. Like, men have to be tough in this world, so that's what I'm trying to do. Just like my dad.
Well, of course, and it's an admirable thing, but you don't have to be anyone else's image of who you want to be. You can make yourself who you want to be. Remember that, if nothing else, from my classes.
Okay. I'll keep it in mind. But I'm not saying I'm going to be on time necessarily.
Well, I would appreciate it if you at least try. But she kind of smiles as she says that, and I think then we kind of fade back to the moment again.
Okay.
As I say, yeah, you don't have to use that card immediately if you don't want to. It's kind of just an extra to your hand, essentially.
So I do have to either use it or discard. Is it okay if I save it and
That's
discard
right.
in this?
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. Yep.
All right, so I'm going to pass. Wait, hearts are special actions. I did not mean to.
You can, yeah, you should be able to drag it back to your hand if you want to discard something different.
My apologies.
No, that's okay, not a problem.
Hand card. I'm just gonna let it hang out there.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. I will discard this one instead. And then draw one, right?
Yep, that's right.
And back to our classroom moment. The whispering and nasty looks continue and sort of spread around the room in a worrisome manner.
All right. Okay, I'm also discarding and drawing one. And yeah, a cloud goes back over. The sun moves behind a cloud again, and the room gets slightly darker.
And the bell rings out for the end of the lesson, and then there's the screeching of chairs against the floor as the kids start to get up and leave. And that's the end of our first scene. So I will hand out cards to people again. And actually, I should have. Oh well, doesn't make much odds at this stage. Cool. So hopefully that gave everyone at least an idea of how this sort of works in action. So we can have our next scene. Does anyone have anything they would like to have set up again? There's some kind of I put some kind of prompts of possible ideas in the little rules document there. But if there's anything else anyone wants, we can do that too.
And how about after gym class in the locker room?
Okay.
And I start again. I start each scene.
That's correct. Yep.
Are we going for sort of like same day, a later period, or later in the week, or?
Yeah, I think like same day, later period.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Yeah. So I think I'm coming out. I'm coming out of the showers, and like I've got a towel wrapped around my waist, and I see some of the boys who were whispering before, and I try to get I try to get past them. I'm sort of afraid of them. These are kids who have bullied me before, and I'm just trying to get past them without them noticing me or causing any trouble. But I don't succeed. They sort of move they sort of move and spread out and block my path, so I can't get to my locker.
So yeah. The one of the boys, he's a solidly built guy. It's called Warwick, and he just he just does, as I say, he just keeps blocking. He's not even really, he's making a very deliberate effort to like not notice you. He's not kind of confronting you. He's just kind of doing that thing of like looking away, but just absolutely standing in the way and preventing you from getting into your locker.
Okay, so I'm going to do a basic action. I'm going to confront these boys. Hey guys, so what's the deal? Like, you don't want him to get his clothes? What, are you gay? Like, what's the deal? I don't understand what you're doing. Got a problem? But I'm going to kind of look away from Simon while I say it, because obviously I don't really like to use that word that way, but it's that's the thing to do. And I get them to leave him alone for that moment.
That's cool.
But then I turn away. I don't talk to Simon either right now. I just diffuse and turn my back and keep to myself.
Oh, sorry, you're muted, Stephen.
Oh, crap. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't looking at the screen, so I was.
Yeah. There was. Okay. Yeah. So I take advantage of Jack confronting Nick and distracting the boys to get past him, get to my locker, where I change very quickly, and then I move to leave the locker room without saying anything to Jack or even looking at him.
Yeah, and I think as kind of you open the open the door, there's just that kind of soft breeze comes in and just kind of stirs the steam from the showers around the floor.
I don't know how my card just got buried, but I'm playing my my card from the moment of inspiration. So, acting as unhurried as possible, I do manage to get my stuff and get out the door and sort of follow Simon out. And in accordance with what I've been advised, I decide to at least attempt to be a little bit less gruff. And I say, "Hey, you all right?"
Yeah. And I say, I'm fine. I don't need your help. And and I run away, and I bump into one of the boys from the gym. He shoves me against a locker and says, "After school," and stalks off.
You sure about that?
Cool.
It's my follow-up question to him saying he doesn't need my help, and watching him get shoved up against the locker and threatened. Sure about that?
Sorry. The hearts don't do like the moment of intimacy thing. It is just still one action thing rather than a continuous.
Oh, I was thinking. I didn't know about the moment of inspiration. Whether
No, yeah. So sorry, so no, that I didn't make that clear. But yeah, that's cool. I'm to be honest, I'm just discarding. Anyway. So yeah, I think the and I will just leave that as a moment of silence because that's my train of thought. So yes, it is now your chance to go, Jack.
but that was I just went, right? Or do I get to?
No, sorry. Your next card now. So we're still technically on a face card. We've
Okay, I didn't know if Simon had played a turn.
yes, that was the ace.
Yeah, the Ace of Spades. That was the thing where I was saying I don't need your help and running off
Oh,
and bumping into. I was
that's
escalating the threat.
I can't see.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah, there's a moment of
I
confusion there.
okay. My apologies. All right. So I played a king, normal action.
Oh no, a king is your moment of passion. Oh no, sorry, it is sorry. I'm wrong character.
My special card.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna walk up to Simon and say, "Look, kid, we all know that I'm tough and you're not. You can spurn my help if you want, but those guys are tools, and they're gonna hurt you, and I'm only gonna stick my neck out so far. So maybe consider not throwing things back in my face when I stick my neck out for you."
Okay, and I will discard. And Simon, I start to open my mouth and say something, but then I'm just silent. I can't bring myself to speak.
And we see Miss Rain is kind of watching. She's walking down the corridor and sort of sees the two of them together, and we see that sort of moment of concern on her face, but she doesn't do anything to kind of intervene at the minute, but she's clearly hoping that that they will be able to support each other.
Sorry, I'm resizing windows in hopes of being able to watch the actual card playing while watching the game, because I keep missing things. Okay.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea, actually.
All I can do is discard, so I will do so. And I will say that despite the fact that neither one of us is talking anymore, I remain for a moment leaning a little bit closer to Simon than I might otherwise at the tail end of this conversation, as he's still sort of up against the lockers.
Okay, and I will also discard and draw. And it's the bell rings for the next class.
Yeah, and the sound of like people like running through the halls and chattering sort of starts to slowly fade out as people filter into their classrooms.
I can play. Is that the end of the scene, or
that is now the end of the scene? Yep, I think we've all of us passed consecutively there, so that scene is now done with. So I'll just clear up the for each of us. That's convenient. Okay, so our next scene. Does anyone have an idea that they want? I'm wondering if we want to kind of. Go ahead. I was going to say I was wondering if we do want to have like kind of the scene after school where Simon may or may not be dealing with these bullies, or we can do something else if people would find that more interesting.
I was going to suggest something similar, sort of right as school's getting out. Like we're not out behind the schoolyard or whatever, but maybe we're just getting out of class, which Simon and I happen to have our last period together. And I notice he's putting his stuff away slowly, and I managed to also be doing so.
Sounds good.
Before it starts. Sound good?
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's the last class, and I notice that I'm sort of lingering in the classroom, waiting for the bullies to sort of get lost. And I noticed that Jack is sort of taking his time too. Like he's going to protect me, and I'm sort of grateful, and so I'm sort of still resentful of the way he's. I mean, he's so cute, but he obviously has so much resentment of what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, and he would hate me. He would hate me if he knew what I was thinking. But I mean, I just can't walk away from him.
And Warwick walks by Simon's desk and just murmurs low to him, "Your boyfriend can't protect you forever. I'll get you, you'll see." And he carries on out the door. Or carries on towards the door, I'll say.
Okay. Make sure I can do this. Hey, Warwick, come back in here for a minute. Does he come back in?
Well, you can make him.
Okay, so he comes back in. I'm taking my decisive action, standing up to someone. We can go back in.
Yeah.
I heard what you said a minute ago, and maybe you think you could pick on Simon, but if you think you can pick on me, you might want to think twice. I got a lot of experience dealing with bigger problems than you. Don't drag me into your expletive. And he sort of sizes me up for a second, realizes he can't really expect to take me and maybe shouldn't risk it, and kind of mumbles something that's not an apology but also not aggressive and shuffles off.
Cool. Oh, you're muted again. So.
Yeah, he looks at Jack. He starts to say something, then he turns away and starts to walk out the door, and then he stops and he turns back and he says, "Thank you."
And there's just a moment of silence with just the clock over the chalkboard ticking.
Father. Yeah, I'm gonna go for it. Okay. So this is my special action, expressing emotions and thoughts through dialogue or inner monologue. Okay. Simon, wait a minute. Look, I know we're not like pals or anything, and you said you don't need my help, and you know, whatever. But you know, I have to be tough because I've got a lot going on, and because I just can't tolerate all these tools at school. on top of the rest of my life, but I'm not a bad guy. So, I don't want to get all palsy or anything, but I know what it's like to be beat up on. I don't want to see you get beat up on, so you don't have to be whatever you are, all right? We're cool. And I'm going to just put my hand on his shoulder for a minute. But very briefly. All right? I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, and Simon is like, yeah, we're cool. And he leaves the classroom, and Jack goes one way and Simon goes another way. And as he goes out of the school, he feels a push on his back, and he goes stumbling down the steps of the school. And his book bag bursts open, and his books fly everywhere.
Cool. That seems like an appropriate point to bring in another ace. So, yeah, and Warwick says, "See, told you you couldn't hang around your little bum chum all all afternoon." And he kicks Simon as he's sort of bending down to pick up his books, sending him sprawling forwards onto his face. The other thing I'll point out, this isn't like explicitly stated in the rules, but because it just makes it easier, I tend to just play with whatever card is still on top of the play pile, so you can sort of continue playing on that as an 8, because I think it just makes things easier.
Okay.
Quick clarifying question.
Yeah.
How do we feel about cursing? Because I feel like my character keeps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm well, yeah, that's
Okay.
more than
Stephen, any?
Yeah, that's fine.
Just seems like what Jack would do.
As appropriate, yes.
fair.
So, okay. So I hear the commotion, even though I've walked the other way, and I run over and see the tail end of that interaction, in which Simon gets kicked by Warwick. And I feel like furious, but instead of helping Simon, I yell after Warwick. Warwick, what the hell was that? Did you not hear me back in the classroom? And he turns around and doesn't meet my eye. And I say, maybe you didn't hear me. And I walk straight up to him and I punch him in the face. And he falls down. And I turn my back and walk back towards Simon. Actually, I'm going to add one thing to that. And I call over my shoulder. I don't care what you think about me or anybody else. Get in my way again, and you'll get more than a punch in the face.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm picking up the books and putting them back in my backpack, and See, one of my physics book, like it got stepped on, and the cover is torn, and it's like, I'm almost having a panic attack because it's damaged. But then I get myself under control, and like I take Jack's hand, and as he helps me he helps me get off, and like I brush the dirt off my knees, and I say, yeah, thanks, thanks, Jack.
And in that moment, while Jack is helping Simon up, Warwick has got back to his feet, and he runs and basically rugby tackles Jack from behind, and knocking him down to the floor, and throws a punch into his ribs.
Unfortunately, as much as I would like to act decisively on that, I have to discard. So, I will say the punch isn't anything that I can't take, given everything else that's going on in my life, but the amount of sort of conflicted anger, protectiveness, and everything else that I'm feeling is actually more damaging than the physical.
Yeah, I'm also discarding and drawing one, and yeah, and Simon is just sort of frozen, and he sees a few drops of blood on the blacktop where Jack's face scraped against the ground.
So I'm playing a queen, and at this point, Miss Rain marches across the schoolyard and calls out loudly, "Boys, what on earth is going on?" And Warwick, Winthrop, break it up right now. And so says, go to the you'll both be seeing the headmaster tomorrow. Simon, are you okay? And she's going to kind of lead Simon away, as well. She sort of basically makes sure that the other two leave, and then turns to Simon. Simon, what was all that about? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, Miss Rain. It's Jack was helping.
Good. I know it's. I know it must. I know it's hard. I know. I know. I've. I'm not. I'm not blind. I've seen what Warwick and his lot are like. But just so you know, if there's anything, if there's ever anything you need or you want to ask me about, just I'm here. Okay.
Yeah, I understand, Miss Rain.
it's not it's not it's not weakness to look for help from other people. If you need someone to help you, just ask. If you need me, anyone else, it's fine. You understand?
I know, Miss Rain. I know what the rules are.
It's not just about the rules, Simon. It's life, the whole thing. I know you didn't ask for any of this that's being done, but you don't have to stand for it. You don't have to stand up for it on your own.
Okay. Can I go now?
Of course, Simon. And yeah, that's I think that's the end of that moment of inspiration. But yes, obviously you've got that card now to use when you see fit.
Wait, so does that bring it to my turn?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I have to discard again. So frustrating. Okay. So Jack and Winthrop, is that his name? Winthrop? Stalk off in opposite directions, but Jack hears just a little bit of the conversation between Miss Rain and Simon, and hopes that Simon will just listen so that it's not so difficult to just try to look out for the kid. But he keeps walking, because what else is he going to do?
Then later that afternoon, Simon knocks on Jack's door, and when Jack opens the door, Simon, it's like, yeah, I brought you a bag of crisps, and I wanted to say thank you for sticking up for me. And he sort of touches Jack's cheek where it's scraped. Your face is okay, isn't it? It's just a little scrape.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's nothing. Sort of flinching away from the touch. Flinching away from the touch. It's no problem. Works at Sewell, any chance to stand up to a guy like him is a good one for me to take. My dad's inside. Do you want to go? Let's take a walk for a minute. I don't want to deal with you don't want to meet him. So,
Sure. Walk sounds nice.
just let me walk you back towards your place and make sure there aren't any of the guys around.
Sure.
I'll take those crisps though.
Yeah.
Pretty hungry. So, good. Like, I'm glad you're not trying to be tough. Like, we've all got our strength. Like, I'm sure you're real smart, but please, like, let me look out for you, okay, kid?
Sure. Thanks again. It's nice to have somebody looking out for me,
It's all right to need help sometimes. It's a tough world. So we start to get towards Simon's, like where Simon's house is, and I'm not seeing anyone who looks like they're gonna jump out, and I'm getting a little bit antsy with my friendliness. So I'm gonna thanks for the crisps. I'll see you at school. You know, let me know if anybody gives you any trouble.
Sure.
Cool. See you, Simon.
See ya.
Nice. Okay, the other thing that we can do as part of the moment of passion is to de-escalate the threat if you think it's appropriate.
I do think it's appropriate.
Yep.
Because I'm going to kick Winthrop's ass. Like tomorrow. The next time I have an action card I can play.
Yeah, sure thing. So we can subtract a number of cards. I'd say probably maybe just one card at the minute.
Yeah.
I think that it's probably, I think Winthrop. I think Warwick's still,
Work. That's it.
Yeah.
Winthrop.
Sorry, Winthrop's Jack's Sano. So yeah, I got confused as well. Cool. So
I think the outcome of the next interaction or two with Warwick will probably make it more clear how much the threat's been de-escalated. So
yeah. And I'm just going to discard. And there are as Jack and Simon are sort of stood in the street, you can just hear in the distance the sound of police sirens.
Okay. That's me, right?
Yep.
All right. So this is my moment of passion.
Yep. So yes, your one allows you to increase the physical intimacy of the relationship.
So I had started to turn back towards home as Simon was going. I turned back around. Simon. Actually, I was wondering if you could, if I could just look over your physics notes maybe for a second, because I was late today and have been late a lot. And I'm just wondering, I think I'm missing some things. Do you think it would be okay if I came in for a minute to look at your notes?
Yeah, of course.
Cool, man. Thanks. So we go in, and pending all rightness from you, Simon, go back to your room where your school stuff and your desk would be, I guess. And you get out your book. And drop some papers and go to pick them up. And I kneel down with you, ostensibly to help you pick them up, but accidentally let my hand brush over one of your hands as though we were reaching for the same paper, but leave it there a little bit longer than would make sense in that situation. And then quickly after that moment, with just sorry, man. Sorry, I was just trying to help you with your papers.
Yeah, and that's right. And we sit down. I start explaining. I start explaining physics to the notes for the class today, and it's like as we talk, it's sort of I realize that he's really missed a lot of classes, so I sort of go back and I start explaining things, and it's like we spend a couple of hours going over physics, and like Jack is sort of starting to get a couple of the concepts, and it's like every once in a while, it's like let's see. I'll lean over him as I point, or I'll touch his hand for a moment, and just gradually like testing the boundaries, and it's like gradually coming to realize that he's a little skittish, but he actually does. I think he actually does want this.
And because it doesn't really seem an appropriate moment to bring it in, I will discard. And there is birds chirping in the trees outside Simon's room.
I have to discard myself. And I will say that the evening stretches on longer than Jack would have anticipated, but he finds that he doesn't mind.
And I am out of cards,
So yeah, you essentially pass automatically. You obviously can't discard, but you do draw a card.
Right, but I would draw back up to 5 anyway, so it doesn't really
exactly.
matter.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, and it's like Jack eventually goes home, and it's like, and that night, I mean, I dream of him.
Nice. Cool. Okay, so that is that scene. I will take a quick 5-minute break here now again, and then we will. So I guess actually as well at this point, we can now, I suppose, if we want, we can leave this story here for now and then change around roles, or we can just keep going with this one. If we keep playing like in this scenario, as it were, I probably won't have time for a second game because it's sort of starting to get quite late here. But I'm perfectly happy to keep us playing on with this one because I have I'm sort of happy playing Miss Rain, etc. for the time being. So if you two are happy to continue, that's cool.
Yeah, I would say keep going with these.
Yeah, there are a lot of things starting to happen that I would like to.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking as well. So cool. So yeah, we'll take a 5 minutes now, and then we'll come back.
Okay, see you in 5. Hello again.
Yeah.
Stephen, come back. I have like Borix to punch in the face. I'm quite peeved with Mr. Warwick, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he could use a little bit of extra help understanding where he stands in this situation. I've never punched someone in real life at all, ever.
No.
But Jack really
not in a serious way, certainly.
No. Yeah, I'm sure I've like playfully shoved someone in a friendly way, but Jack is quite ready to take out some of his frustrations about his home life and his repressed other things on Warwick, who is really an easy target, whether he knows it or not. I'm almost tempted to sign. I know you're running this again tomorrow, and I saw there was only one other person signed up. I'm tempted to sign up again. Play somebody else.
Yeah.
If nobody else signs up, I mean,
No. Yeah. By all means.
In your play group, but
yeah, if you fancy it, then yeah, you'd be more than welcome.
I have to make sure I haven't booked something else.
Yeah. No. Of course.
I got very excited when I first started signing up for games and signed up for like every open game that existed, but yeah. It's interesting. I'm gonna have a lot of thoughts at the end of this game, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just chatting. We're
No,
live.
no, that's quite all right. No, that's good. Yeah, no, it's like I said, I think it's an interesting game. It's because it is, like I said, it always at the beginning it feels quite artificial, but I think you do kind of start getting into the swing of the rhythm of it, sort of thing. It's cool. Yeah. Our next scene. What do people fancy for this one?
I imagine it's the next day. Well, actually, let me look at my cards first. Maybe it isn't the next day. You know what? I don't think it is the next day. I finally have a hand I enjoy, and would like to not lose the moment we had going there. So, but still, if anybody has a different thing they want to do, please feel free to bring that up. And otherwise, it's Simon's open as ever.
Yeah. So yeah, so sort of carrying on with that same evening, do you want this to be kind of still in Simon's bedroom, or have you gone somewhere else, or
I think still in Simon's bedroom, but like physics studying either has already been exhausted, or like we start off with sort of a statement of like, my brain can't take anymore, but like we're sort of ending the studying phase, and either I'm gonna leave or we're gonna talk more, or like that's not decided yet, maybe.
Yep, sure thing.
Right. Well, that like you stayed long enough that my mother invites you to dinner.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
Take it away, Simon. Kid.
I, Mom, I want to introduce you to Jack. He's in my physics class. I was like, we were just going over some like studying together, and yeah, he's
Oh, that's lovely, dear. Do you want to stay for tea, Jack? We're having fish fingers and chips if you'd like.
Uh, thank you, Mrs. King. That sounds nice. I should probably call my dad and just let him know what's going on before beforehand. But that sounds nice. Can I call him on this same card, or do I have to wait?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah,
I'm just gonna call my
we
dad.
don't have to play like strict adherence to like
Okay.
time and.
So I just call my dad and I'm like, "Hey, Dad. Yeah, I'm out with some of my mates. I had to deal with some stuff at school, and it's. Don't worry about it. I'll be home tonight. Don't worry about me. All right. All right. Cool. Thanks." And I just hang up without really waiting for any further anything.
Yeah, cool.
yeah, and right, and we have dinner, and my mom sort of is like dominating the conversation a bit. She's like asking Jack questions about his family and what he likes in school and stuff like that. It's like like we get to the we get to the end of the dinner and I said, Mom, do we have any ice cream? I think maybe we should have a little bit of dessert.
Pudding.
Yeah, we do, love, and I think we've got some. I think we've got some tin peaches as well. I'll go and get that sorted for you. And she heads off into the kitchen and gets gets that sorted out.
So I just realized I was all excited to have hearts finally because I've been waiting to have them, but they're all too low now. I forgot about them not being Trump rule. Like I'm from Las Vegas.
yeah.
So that is really sad for me because I've been waiting to be able to express some actual emotions, but I will not do that since I'm not allowed. And instead we'll do a special action. Although this is not really the time that I would do it, but that's what I've got left. Okay, so while Simon's mom bustles off to get dessert, I'm going to assume I'm sitting next to Simon. And I'm going to deliberately this time put my hand on his, like not pretending it's an accident on the floor, not whatever, and just say, "Hey, it's cool that you helped me out and invited me to stay, and your family seems really nice, and it's nice to spend an evening somewhere that like it's been a nice evening. I want to thank you." And I squeeze his hand a little bit. And then I pull it back before his mom comes into the room.
Yeah. Like, right. My mom comes back with the tinned peaches and the little bowls, and I mean it's like I'm cutting like I cut mine up, and I casually that one hand drop beneath the table, and I put it on Jack's leg, and I just sort of hold it there while I'm eating peaches and glancing sideways at him.
Just say, I assume that's not a game mechanic that
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just my phone.
Okay. So, David, it's your
Yeah.
turn.
I mean, you can because it's a
Oh,
bonus
right.
person. You can carry on the scene a little bit longer
Lovely.
if you want to. I mean, obviously you don't have to, but you can.
No, I would like to. I forgot I was allowed. So I conspicuously don't look back at Simon, but I also don't move his hand. And I imagine that not necessarily intentionally, I kind of tense up for the first few seconds and then like consciously relax. And what I try to do is eat my food in a normal way, looking unbothered, because I can't quite bring myself to like reassure him with a look, but I also I like the feel of his hand on my knee enough that I don't want to do anything to cause him to take it away.
Cool. Actually, I'll do that. And yeah, there's just the sound of dishes being washed from the kitchen, the clink of china and cutlery.
Does that mean his mom has gone back into the kitchen and we're alone again? Okay. Let me get my turn. Okay. Discard. So I think that as the clinking is going on in the kitchen, Simon and I both are eating very slowly for some reason, as though to make the moment last a little longer.
And I will discard. And yeah, it's just a nice quiet moment.
Excellent.
Maybe that's all of us in a row, right?
Yep, it is. So
Apologies, allergies.
no
All the
worries.
storm stuff.
Cool. So, what do we fancy for our next scene? Do we want to now move it back onto the next day at school, or
I'm not ready to move on to the next day at school yet.
fair?
I still have those hearts. Nobody play a high card to start, please. I always go third, so by the time you get to me, it's like if we're already at 9, all of my number cards are useless.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to express some feelings about the situation. So, I try to figure out how we can have the evening keep going in a way that is organic. So, his mom's doing the dishes. We've been finishing up dessert. We're finally finishing up. Where do we go from there? Like one last scene for the night before, obviously, I will go home.
So, I mean, obviously, you could just go back up to Simon's room, or it's it's summer in England, so the nights stay light till quite late. So you could possibly be outside in the garden, or
Is there maybe something
wherever
like
else.
in Simon's backyard or something that like would be a chill place to hang out that is not super public? Like, because obviously I would be sensitive about being seen with him, but like if there's somewhere we could sit and chat that is.
I think his dad probably keeps like a little fish pond in the back garden.
Oh, cute. So Simon, what do you think? How would you play it? Unless you disagree and want to go to the next day.
No, that's fine. I was just distracted by an email I was looking at.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. So,
You want to invite me to your fish pond?
Sure. Go out. We'll go out back to the fish pond.
Yeah, maybe I've said that like without being too forthcoming about what's going on, since I have not played a heart or anything. Just that it would be cool to not go home quite yet, because home isn't my favorite place if there's anywhere to hang out.
Okay, yeah, so right, so we got we go out back to the fish pond, and it's just like it's starting to be dusk. It's just a little getting a little bit dark, although there's like plenty of light from the nearby houses and stuff, so it's not really dark, but I mean, look up at the sky and there's like this full moon, and it's just ridiculously romantic. And we sit down next to the fish pond, and it's like we're openly holding hands.
Okay.
A couple of bats circle around in the dusk. That wasn't meant to go there. Well, I'll keep it there for now. A couple of bats circle around through the trees around the garden.
No. As ever, I can't play any of my cards basically. But so I can't advance things without one of my special moves. So I have to do basic action. I don't know what basic action to do here. I wanted to do my special actions. I guess I can act decisively with success. So I'm gonna just say straight up to Simon, look, I'm not very good at talking or, you know, a lot of things. So I'm just going to say this. I don't feel like I'd like to hang out with you again like this. But I don't feel like it's a good idea for us to let other people know we're hanging out much. More for your sake than for mine. But I, you know, I'd be down to come by again sometime if you have me.
And Simon, yeah, I mean, yeah, I get it. I mean, this isn't the kind of town where, yeah, I mean, I get that you not not open, but yeah, I mean, you can come by anytime.
Cool.
I want you to come by.
Thanks, man. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm happy to have an excuse to punch Warwick. Like, so, you know, I'm not like scared or anything. But I don't want you to get hurt. So thank you for the invitation. And we'll just, you know, we can keep it between us.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. So I don't want you to get hurt either. So I mean, next time you knock him down, don't turn your back on him. Just keep kicking.
I have some plans for work. Don't you worry. You don't need to worry about me. Let me worry about you, okay, kid?
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
And I think inside we see Simon's mum. I think she's like, I think, you know, kind of Jack just sort of like left his like school blazer sort of on a not on the floor, but like kind of on the settee sort of thing. And I think she just kind of like, you know, shakes it out and puts it over the back of the chair and just smiles softly.
I'm going to discard. So I think after that sort of combination of sweet and awkward conversation, we just let there be some silence for a moment. Sit there holding hands.
Yeah, and I think Simon gradually he falls asleep and sort of he slumps on he sort of slumps against Jack's side and he sort of snores gently as Jack holds him more tenderly than he ever held him while Simon was awake.
And just like a slight breeze picks up and rustles the leaves in the trees.
If I have an ace, do I have to play it as the threat?
You don't have to. No, you can so if you play it, you have to use it to advance a threat, but you're not required to play. You can discard it or
I mean, it's a heart, so I was like, can I do it as a threat and also as a special action, or is it just a threat?
It's just the threat when it's an ace. Yep. Yeah.
I'm gonna discard something else. Actually, not like I need that anyway. And just say that I note that as the breeze picks up, that it ruffles Simon's hair a little bit, and kind of, since my head is so near him, I get a little bit of the smell of his hair and like it.
And I will also discard and feel a few raindrops, just the beginning of a slight drizzle.
Nice. Okay, so that's our scene. I will clear up the cards and all that stuff. So cool. Yeah, what do people fancy for our next scene?
I don't know. I've kind of given up on trying to have some feelings for this one evening. It doesn't seem to be in the cards, literally or figuratively. So,
I mean, I think back at school.
okay.
I think maybe in Miss Rain's class again.
Okay.
Sure thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sitting in Miss Rain's classroom, having gotten there on time, and just a moment after the bell rings, but before Miss Rain has started talking, I see Jack come in the door, almost on time. And I look, I catch his eye, and I can't help smiling.
The chalk scratches on the board as Miss Rain writes up the lesson plan for the morning.
Okay. I'm very torn about what card to play because I don't know what other people have. I'm just gonna go for it. Okay. So I catch Simon's smile and am a little bit disconcerted at how warm I feel inside seeing it, and start to smile back before catching myself. Still got to play cool, but I think to myself that life's been hard for a long time, and it's really nice to have something to smile about. I almost want to say more, but I feel like that was enough for one turn. Milk my heart while I have it.
Yeah.
Um, I will discard. And yeah, it's like I I hear somebody snickering in one of the back rows where some of the bullies sit, but I just ignore it.
There's the sound of a lawnmower cutting the school playing field outside, sort of droning in the background. Oh, I forgot to draw last time as well.
I hear the bully snickering too, and just think to myself, like, I could beat up anyone in this class, and realize that I would happily do so for Simon. And sort of that leads into just general thinking about Simon and thinking about Simon's hand on my leg and thinking about Simon's hand in my hand and the scent of his hair when the breeze went through it, and how nice it was to be able to sort of hold him close when no one was looking and he was asleep and I could just relax for a minute and sort of have the thought that I am going to make sure I see him again. And if anyone wants to take issue with it, we'll take care of it.
Yeah. Like Simon is really just distracted from the lesson. It's like Miss Rain is talking about Romeo and Juliet, but Simon he's trying to write a poem about what it feels like when your hand is touching someone else's hand, and he can't quite find the words. He's got lots of stuff crossed out.
And Joe just kind of does that, casual lean sideways in her chair and says, "You're not even paying the blindest bit of notice to this, are you?"
I'm noticing that Simon is not paying attention, which is unlike him. It's very like me. I do whatever I want. But I have a little bit of a flutter of guilt, like maybe I'm a bad influence on him. But really, I'm secretly kind of thrilled that he's so distracted. And I find my thoughts going back and forth between tenderness towards Simon and like anger, sort of a mounting anger that probably comes from other things in my life. Like it was already there, that we have to hide any of this and that anyone in the class would dare to judge us. Like I've heard the person snickering and whatever else. And it's I feel overwhelmed by the combination of just the desire to be vulnerable with someone and sweet to someone who makes me happy, and to just beat up everybody else.
Yeah, and Miss Rain asks me a question, and I don't hear her, and I'm so caught up in my own head, and then she says my name again loudly, and I look up, and I have no idea what she just said. I'm I'm sorry. Could you say that again?
Well, Mr. King, it is, I suppose, appropriate that you are away with the fairies, though it would be useful if you were actually concentrating on the specific ones. I said, could you please read back the Puck's speech in scene 3? Wait, we were doing Romeo and Juliet. Well,
I'm going to, with reluctance, put this ace out there. I think we're being obvious enough that that would escalate the threat. Even though I don't want to. And I'll say that the snickering gets louder and someone whispers to me, probably Warwick, who I'm really going to beat up when I get the right card, whispers to me like, looks like you're rubbing off on your little boyfriend. Now both of you are stupid. And I'm furious. And like having to stop myself from punching him in the classroom and barely managing it.
Yeah. So I discard one, and yeah, it's like I've completely lost my place in the book, and I'm just like flipping pages trying to find the speech.
So, I think Miss Rain is going to sort of come over to Simon's desk, and she sort of flips through the book and points at the passage, but she says, "This isn't like you, Simon. You're usually paying more attention, but well." And she sort of lowers her voice a little bit so that she sort of can't be overheard by everyone in the class, and says, "But it's at least good to see you with a smile on your face. Try and hold on to that, okay? But also do pay attention, boy." And she moves back to her the front of the class.
So to pass and discard.
Yeah.
And the whispers don't really stop. And I don't stop being angry. But I'm glad that Simon seems off the hook for the moment. At least scholastically.
And Simon is just sort of he's sort of flustered, and as he's trying to straighten up his desk, he drops his pencil and it goes clank 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 as it sort of bounces a couple of times and rolls beneath the desk in front of him.
There's one of those really, really loud flies just droning around at the top of the room.
And the seconds start ticking towards the end of the class period, and eyes go to the clock.
Cool. So is that scene?
That is.
Yeah. Cool.
Stupid Warwick.
Right. Okay. So, what do people fancy for the next scene?
After school again?
Sure.
Like walking out of the school building?
Yep. Yeah, that could work. Maybe in town, or just leaving the school immediately.
I mean, leaving the school and heading towards town? Maybe
Yeah.
we've agreed to study at a cafe or something.
Sounds good.
I don't really know the layout of the town, so
Yeah, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
something to that nature. Walking out of the school towards something.
Yeah, and I think Jack and I, we leave school together, and I mean, we aren't holding hands, but we're obviously together. It's like we're obviously deliberately not avoiding each other, and it's like we don't care what any of these bullies think. We just walk out of the front door of the school together and head towards town. And like as we leave, it's like I catch what's his name? What's his name?
Warwick.
Seems Warwick's eye, and it's like just give a little shake of the head as if don't mess with us.
nice.
Good job, kid.
Yeah, and I think Warwick scout. Oh no, that's there. Sorry. Warwick scowls at you, and he kind of, you can sort of see he's like, he does that sort of, bulks himself up, and he's obviously like doesn't want to be seen to be like backing down, but he's obviously making no move to come towards you at the minute, or
I have one card I can play. So I decide to make the look from Simon a little bit more official. And I turn back towards Warwick and I say, "Hey, Warwick, just a heads up. If you ever bother us again, you won't get the chance to tackle me because I'll punch you so many times you won't be able to see where I've gone afterwards. So, bye." And I give him a look that says, I absolutely mean it. And there is no mistaking that I will follow through on that if he is to bother us. Given that my action says I stand up to someone and make them back down and or act decisively with success, that means he doesn't attack us.
Yeah, that's cool.
Take that, Warwick. I thought about just straight up going and beating him up, but didn't want to ruin our afternoon.
Yeah, and as we turn a corner, and I pull Jack into an alley, and I just we're out of sight for a moment, and I mean I tilt my head up, and Jack sort of I am inviting Jack to kiss me.
Oh, and it's a king, so you can actually
Yes.
do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I sort of look around a little bit because I'm still, I've been keeping up a tough guy image for a long time, and dropping it in 2 days is a little bit much. But at the same time, I'm feeling kind of an adrenaline rush from having told off Warwick so successfully, and for actually doing what I want to do for once and not, cowering from my father or posturing or whatever else. And I just decide, fuck it, like, this is what I want. I'm going to take it. And I push Simon up against the back of the wall of the alley, and I kiss him hard.
Yeah, and they lean into the embrace, and then I think we separate. That's like I hear somebody coming, and we separate, and but like we're sort of smiling little bit bashfully, and like we sort of catch our breath, and then sort of we leave the alley and sort of continue on towards town. But yeah, now we're sort of catching each other's eye a little bit more frequently and smiling.
Agreed. Although I will say that, as my character, whether I would actually do this or not, while I feel that same sense of giddiness, there is a part of me that has been putting up that front for so long that I'm like,
Simon can't help smiling. Jack is maybe a little bit more.
He's trying to let Simon know that he's not rejecting, but he can't be that openly vulnerable in town. He's just not capable emotionally.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's looking. He's looking tough, and he's sort of getting exasperated every time Simon breaks into this little grin.
That makes sense. Yes. Like, he doesn't want to be mean about it, and he doesn't want to express the exasperation, but like, there are people here, and he definitely doesn't want to get back to his dad. I think that is part of it. Also, he's less worried about the kids at school, but
you can de-escalate the threat here if you feel it appropriate.
I do. I think I scared the pants off of that.
I think so. I think so.
Take that. What's your nose?
I think we can probably call that 2 cards out of there. I think, the threat's still lurking, but it's not really going to be achieving much. And the sun is sort of beating down, and you've got that kind of warmth reflecting back from the brickwork around you.
Was that making my turn? Goodness.
Yep.
So I'm thinking idly to myself that that being back in Simon's backyard with like some lemonade or something would be awfully nice in the sun, but I don't bring it up because I'm still kind of flustered from our previous interaction, so I just keep walking.
And Simon, it's like, are you sure you don't want to come in? I mean, I think my mom liked you.
And yeah, there's again that sound of just some like people out in the gardens mowing their lawns, that soft drone of the two-stroke engines.
I can't answer or anything, right? Like I can't do anything meaningful, so
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He did ask me a question, but I want to just ignore him, but I don't know what other option I have. How about if I don't get a higher card, I'm gonna go out of my mind. Like never do it. Okay. I think a look flashes over my face that shows how much I've sort of been hoping he would ask, even though I'm mysteriously not answering for some reason.
Yeah, and I also have to discard. And yeah, I mean, I think there's a moment. There's just this moment of silence where I look at him and I recognize that I'm pushing him just a little bit too hard, and I sort of nod, and it's like, yeah, okay, it's okay.
Nice. Okay, so I think at this point our threat has effectively been resolved. I think the bullying from Warwick is no longer really going to be much of an impact on their relationship. What I think we'll end here. But what I would like, I think, if we can do a brief epilogue for each character.
Be nice.
Tell you what, I will go first as Miss Rain. And I think we see I think we just see a shot of Miss Rain marking marking Jack's essay on Romeo and Juliet. She sort of reads through it and sort of smiles and writes the grade on it and yeah, just looks at it for a moment with a pleased smile on her face.
Simon, would you like to go next?
Yeah, and so Simon, and I think he's got he's more confident in school. He's like he's a little more assertive, and he's just like the bullying decreases, not so much because they're scared of Jack, as because Simon just doesn't seem like such an easy target anymore. It seems like he's not. If you put, you can't just push him around anymore. So he's just he's got more presence all of a sudden.
Nice. So I think for Jack, it's a little bit complicated. In some ways, he's happier than he's ever been, but it's a huge, like, paradigm shift from everything he ever understood about himself. And he's still got the dad at home who he really, like, I imagine continues to be a problem, because why wouldn't he be? So he starts spending more and more time when he can at Simon's, to the extent that he can get away with it without having to tell his dad too much, and gets better at school and less aggressive overall, but never really feels fully at ease with himself through the process. And I see that playing out in some unfortunate ways with Simon, in that Jack's confusion about his own identity can be some hot and cold mixed signal type things. He clearly likes Simon, and they spend time. They end up together, but Jack continues to be a handful when it comes to handling him emotionally. And you never know from one day to the next whether he's going to be kind of standoffish and weird, or whether he's going to shove Simon down on the bed and just jump on top of him with sort of a joyous abandon. But the two of them are going to work it out together, even if it is a little bit hard sometimes.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. Thank you very much, both of you. That was great fun. So thank you for that. I'm going to stop the recording now. So if anyone has been watching, thank you very much. And yeah, it was lovely to play with you all. Thanks very much.
Thank you.